Matt Miguez has plenty on his mind, and he's ready to share it with the world. It's time to hear the Miguez Mindset.
Welcome into the Miguez Mindset here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Lake Charles. Brought to you each and every week by Marucci Hitter's House of Lafayette. Matt Miguez here, college football almost here, about a month away from the start of the 2024 season. This week we were joined by the author of the Bible of College Football, Mr. Phil Steele, talking to all things LSU Tigers. And, you know, I started talking with Phil about a recap of last year's season, 10-3, a win in the ReliaQuest Bowl. Jaden Daniels obviously had a magnificent season on his way to a Heisman Trophy, second overall pick by the Washington Commanders. I wanted to get his thoughts on the general vibe around LSU football as they head into fall camp here in about a week, and just kind of, you know, how they can build off of a successful season a year ago.
You know, I think LSU is going to look different this year than last year. Last year you had your quarterback, a 1,000-yard rusher, the key player on the offense, and quarterback run was a big thing. And as you touched on, the defense was poor. Well, I think this year the defense is going to be much improved. I think the defense improves by over a touchdown per game. They've got the talent on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe the offense won't score as fast, but I think the defense will be improved. And then offensively, a different look. I look for the running backs, for example, to get a lot more carries this year. Last year the running backs had 280 carries. I think this year they get about 100 more carries. And Garrett Nussmeier, very capable throwing quarterback. So I think it's going to be a little different look for LSU, but I do consider them a clear-cut contender in the SEC. I think when you look at the talent and the schedule they have this year, a lot of close games on the schedule. A lot of games I determined would be like 4 points or less, and it should be a pretty fun year.
We also spent some time talking about Garrett Nussmeier and his ability to get the football out to his playmakers, including the running backs. You know, you used Logan Diggs a ton last season. He's now gone. Josh Williams is your leading returner from a rushing standpoint. And, you know, you also have Caleb Jackson, the sophomore from Baton Rouge. Trey Holly's situation is a little up in the air. And also Caden Durham, the incoming freshman. So we talked about the running game for the Tigers as well.
I think it's going to be solid. As mentioned, it won't be as reliant on the quarterback running the football, but I think the emphasis on the running backs running it will be fine. I also like the true freshman, Caden Durham, coming in. I think he's going to have an impact, and they're running behind one of the best offensive lines in the country, which is always a good place to start. So I do think the talent's there with Williams, with Jackson, with Durham. I think they'll be fine, and I think the running back run game will be much improved this year.
I think LSU's big strengths is going to be in the offensive and defensive line. Anytime you got a guy like Will Campbell, who's already talking about being a top 5 draft pick in this upcoming 2025 NFL draft, can obviously help. Emory Jones as well. Garrett Dellinger, a multi-year starter, returning in that front group. And then defensively, I mean, Savion Jones, Jacobian Guillory, Braden Swinson. You've got monsters up front for LSU. They're going to be much improved there on the defensive side. So Phil and I chatted it up about both offensive and defensive lines for the Bayou Bengals.
Yeah, and that's where I think we're going to see some significant improvement this year, because last year LSU struggled a little bit against the run, gave up 4.5 yards per carry. I think that'll be improved this year. You take a look at them on the interior. They add in a guy like Gio Paez coming in from Wisconsin, Georgia's Sean Washington coming in. I think they're going to help firm them up on the inside, and then outside, plenty of talent there, and including a guy like Deshaun Womack, who I think will make an impact this year. So overall, there's just too much talent for the defense to be what they were last year, and I think it starts up front, and you're going to see it with this defensive line.
Continuing our conversation here with Phil Steele about LSU, got to the linebackers, Major Burns, Greg Penn, Whit Weeks, obviously Harold Perkins Jr., one of the best defensive players in the country. The secondary's got to be improved for LSU. Really towards the bottom of the country last year in the defensive secondary. That is just not, LSU football, considering we give them the moniker of DBU. So Phil and I talked about the linebackers and the secondary.
Definitely, as a touchdown with the defensive line, I think improved is the key word. And I like the fact that Perkins has bulked up a little bit this year, more to handle the rigors of playing inside. But as you mentioned, they're going to move him around. I think he and Penn and Burns are one of the better linebacking cores in the country this year. And the secondary, I was sort of shocked that last year they finished number 112 in my past defense rankings. That's just not LSU football. But having Zy Alexander back, hopefully he's 100% after the ACL he had against Army last year. I think that's a big plus in the secondary. As you mentioned, Sage Ryan, Texas A&M transfer, Jordan Gilbert coming in. So I think that the talent is clearly there in the back seven to vastly improve in the past defense rankings and be tougher against the run.
The schedule paints a good picture for LSU, opening in Las Vegas with USC. You've got some really good home games as well with Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, and UCLA. Some tough road games for sure, but I think that this is a built schedule to where LSU can really compete in this new-look 16-team SEC, and Phil and I chatted about that here.
Yeah, I think, you look at a couple of those road games, Matt. South Carolina, dangerous place to play. Arkansas, dangerous place to play. Texas A&M, dangerous place to play. And, of course, the Swamp for Florida. So none of those road games are going to be easy. But then again, none of the road games are unwinnable. So look at the big games. Let's say they do take care of business on the road against teams that, let's face it, they have the talent edge on. Then you get the biggest games at home. There's 3 top 10 teams on the schedule. Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, and they're all in Death Valley. So if LSU takes care of business on the road against teams they have more talent than, and takes care of business at home, then it's a dream schedule because it's a schedule tailor-made to be playing in the SEC title game.
Coming into 2024, year 3 for Brian Kelly and the LSU Tigers, there's still plenty of questions left to be answered. 10-3 last year, really strong first season as well, playing in the SEC championship game. But there's a certain standard of excellence regarding the Tigers. So Phil and I talked about what Brian Kelly and his coaching staff have to do in year 3 to achieve the next level.
Well, the first thing would be get that defense to play better, which I think they will. And then the second thing would be take care of business in the key games. And, those home games against Mississippi, Alabama, and Oklahoma are huge. So Kelly usually does well in year 3 wherever he's coached. So if you're an LSU fan, you've got that hope going for you as well.
Really appreciate Phil Steele for stopping by here on the Miguez Mindset, brought to you each and every week by Marucci Hitter's House of Lafayette. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel here at ESPN Southwest Louisiana. Follow us on social media at ESPN_SWLA. Phil's back next week to preview the Louisiana Raging Cajuns right here on ESPN 103.7 Lafayette and 104.1 Charles.